but I'm pansexual, so I might be dating a woman, like, you know, like
Right.
I could be dating whoever. And she was like, sweetie, I don't care who you date as long as you marry a man. Because
All right. What's up, y'all? We're back. We are back with Array of Thoughts.
featuring Jervie
Featuring
Rose
Jervie.
Peralta.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, yeah, of course.
I didn't.
It's okay. Today's a good one. Today
Yeah.
we're starting off with a really good
Yeah.
one. But before we begin, I'd like to tell everybody where our coffee's from today. Today's order is a pour over. Mine is Ginodera Gesha from St. Frank's Coffee here at Menlo Park.
I got the Karuthi. I think it has a little bit of a. Oh dang! I'm forgetting. I want to say it was like lime and cola.
Yeah, there was some sort of lemon. Oh yes,
Yeah,
yeah, you
lime
told
and
me you
cola,
like that one.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
mine has a little bit of a apple taste. Yeah,
Yeah, I really like how smooth it is.
it's so smooth.
It smells
It
smooth.
was so delicious.
There's nothing in here, by the way. It's all.
It's empty. I'm kidding.
I mean,
There's definitely coffee in here.
I mean, there's no like added stuff to it. Oh my god! Okay, what a great start of this podcast.
He said there's nothing on here.
we just bought cups.
It's a prop cup. We never get coffee. I'm kidding. That's
I
a
hate
joke.
coffee.
That was so well done.
Anyway,
It's just I never realized when you said there's nothing on there because I don't typically put anything in my coffee.
yeah.
Anyway,
same.
so-
I only drink all black.
Yeah,
like my
so-
soul.
And that's all for the podcast. No,
What a great start! What a good
I'm
start.
gonna cry.
Don't cry,
Because anyways, today's just been.
because we're gonna cry later in this podcast.
We most definitely
might.
are. Maybe not this
What's
one.
that? Maybe not this
one's-
one, but
To give y'all an overview, today's podcast is going to be about identities. So that's going to be exciting. Do we have any questions about it? Not really.
yeah.
We're kind of going to go wing it.
We're gonna wing it, like all of this whole podcast in general. I'm choking.
He also winged that call.
I had an almond croissant earlier, and it was really flaky and powdery. I got all the powder off my jacket, but anyway.
My lemon poppy seed muffin is only half eaten, and it is hiding behind this beautiful iPad.
Do you want to show it?
No, that's
No.
okay. It's not the most. It's not the prettiest. I also was not the prettiest munching on this thing. I was so hungry, and I still am, but I can't wait to eat later.
Yeah.
Moving on. Today's identity.
Yes.
The reason we came up with this topic was because it's so interesting. Our duality, very different. I'm pansexual, but I'm more sapphic, so I date a lot of women more than I do men. And you are straight.
Right. I am full on straight.
Yes. The interesting thing is, people will assume that I'm straight, and I have to constantly come out to people.
And people assume that I'm gay.
Yeah.
And I would have to come out to them being
And-
straight.
Yeah,
And
you have to continuously come out to people that you're saying that you're straight.
Yeah.
Which is so
yeah.
interesting.
It is interesting. But where do we want to? Do you want to? How about this? Like.
I already came out. Sorry,
Oh.
we just said it out loud. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
No,
Is that
exactly.
alright?
But like, how do we want to like start?
I think we just started
kinda,
there,
okay,
right?
How about this? Like, because I'm curious. Because I'm not. I actually don't know too much about like pansexuality.
Queer,
and
community,
just
yeah.
aside from just the just the basic like lesbian and gay, right?
Yeah.
So,
So,
like,
pansexuality,
right.
asexuality, and what that's-
Exactly.
I can speak for myself
Yeah,
and what that
And your
identity
experiences.
looks like.
Right.
So I've known for some time. It's just growing up, I didn't have a way to express it. The good thing is the high school that I went to didn't really have a social construct of where you have to be a certain way and you have to date somebody or anything like that. It was kind of just like, it was known. Like, nobody assumed anything, at least for the most part. My group, nobody really assumed anything.
Right.
We kind of just like rolled with the punches, and even at that age there was a lot of flirting going on and a lot of like people who were out, and a lot of my friends were out as well. So that kind of gave me this strength to kind of be who I am without having to identify as anything. They kind of just were, and we were all just being. And then after graduating, my brother came out to me in the car, and I didn't realize that you had to come out like that. So I then like followed it back with, yeah, he was like, hey, I'm gay, and I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual. And he's held that to me as like, you only came out because I came out. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be honest, like I didn't even realize we needed to. I was
Like there's
at
like
that,
a procedure,
right? Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
at that point, like we grew up like kind of knowing that already. We were
Right.
children, and I was like calling him gay, and you know, like when this is so, yeah, when we would get in a fight and he would call me a tomboy, and that would like get me so irritated, and I was like, yeah, I play basketball, but that doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
I hated wearing dresses as a child, but then it became more of a romantic thing, you know, as you're older. And then I came out to my mom. I thought I was bisexual, which is man and woman.
Right.
But then at that time when my mom was alive, she was kind of following Miley Cyrus, and she was, you know, she came out with Wrecking Ball, and she came out with that whole album, and she was out as a pansexual. And with that, my mom was already familiar, and so I told her, like, hey, I was dating a guy at the time, and I said, hey, I know I'm dating a guy, but I'm pansexual, so I might be dating a woman, like, you know, like
Right,
I could be dating whoever.
Right.
And she was like, sweetie, I don't care who you date, as long as you marry a man, because I want a grandchildren.
I don't mean to laugh, but the timing of how you, knowing you, I know your comedic timing, and I'm just like, if you're watching this on video, like, my eyes are surprised when.
Definitely find this video edit if you're listening to this, because that was a gold moment. I was looking at him straight in the eye. Anyway, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. My mom accepts me. I'm pansexual. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'm good. And then obviously she was like, I want grandchildren. And my combat was like, look, I can have grandchildren. You want grandchildren? I will give you grandchildren.
Yeah.
But my mom passed away before I could give that, but it's fine. Like, you know, she did have a grandchild, so that's good. My sister gave birth to a little Andre Leon.
Oh.
So he was named after my mom. That's so far has been my journey coming out to my family. And I only really needed to come out to my mom because at that point it kind of just spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And I just owned up to being myself. And I feel like attire-wise, like, and we're going to get into that as well. Like, I didn't have to change anything. This is how I've always been. I've always worn comfortable clothing and sporty athletic type where I could do whatever.
Right.
We were just talking about like walking here, and I was like, yeah, I could run right now. Like, I want to run right now. It's a great weather.
Yeah, and you even asked me, like, when I called you this morning, like, hey, because I was already kind of dressed, and she FaceTimed me, and she was like, dude, I was about to wear something comfy, and but then I guess she saw me wearing like my little turtleneck and everything.
And look at that necklace. Look
Okay,
at that
hold on. Every time I wear the turtleneck, I don't wear the necklace because then people will think I look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson with the fanny pack and everything. This is my Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson look.
Today's Gym Douche input was brought to you by I look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
He's my idol right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I will find it for you in every single podcast that I do here with Ray. It's there. I promise you, it's there.
Anyway,
y'all hear it too, right?
Aside from being attacked right now, constantly, I volunteer for this. Yeah, you asked me like, oh, should I get a little bit more dressier? And I'm like, you can wear whatever you want to wear at the end of the day,
And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. This weather with this sweater and hoodie combination, I could fall asleep.
Oh, there you go.
I feel so good in nature. I really do. So that's my coming out, and that's well, let's see here, a little bit more sapphic.
Yeah.
So sapphic, you're familiar, right?
No.
Like, okay, so
Yeah, these again, like these are all like
Terms.
new terms that I am slowly trying to understand, because even like the other day I was wearing my shoes,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh.
right, I have these like blue, I should have worn it today, but
Oh,
I have these like blue and yellows. There's yellows, pinks, blues, purples, right? Nikes. And one of our leads was like, I like your pansexual shoes. And I was looking down, I'm like, I didn't know what he meant by that, you know? And he showed me the flag, and I was like, oh, it literally is the colors. Yeah. So again, like, these are all like new terms to me. And so, I mean, I love to learn, you know?
Yeah. I'm not going to get into the full, like,
Right.
dissection of the queer community.
Right.
But you are familiar with the LGBTQIA.
Yes,
you are.
Yes.
And, you know, honestly, let's see, my journey as a queer, that's something that the queer community is taking. Like, it used to be a negative connotation, and now we're kind of just taking it and embracing it.
And yeah.
Let's see. I was initially bisexual, and then became pansexual, eventually lesbian, because I was just like, I stopped dating. Like, after I broke up with an ex-boyfriend, I became a lesbian for a good bit, and then slowly realized that, like, even though I know that I want to marry a woman,
Mm-hmm.
I can still like men. So I can still be pansexual, but be more on this, be more sapphic, where it's woman loving woman.
Right.
So there's that.
Nice.
And it's a journey. I am curious, like, what is it about people that assume you're queer? So when I first met Ray,
Yeah.
I know that he's a very, like, fashionable guy, and I've always liked his fashion. No, like, I've always liked your fashion.
This is the nicest.
But
Hold on. Wait, pause. I feel like this is one of the nicest things Jervie's ever...
I'm in pain. I'm in pain, mind you, as I'm saying this.
I'm going to take it all in. I'm taking it all in.
He has this on video, too, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to regret saying that. No, I'm not. No,
Okay.
Ray knows I care about him. Just kidding. So when I first met Ray, I also knew that you were dating someone. You were dating a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I knew.
Mm-hmm.
But people around me didn't.
Yeah.
And they thought you were.
Yeah.
And he's an extremely friendly person. So, some of the queer men that I was working with at the time thought that he was flirting with them. And they would tell me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I promise you, the man has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure you're good.
Yeah.
Because then they would tell me, it's just like, oh, no. And I was like, I'm not going to, it's been years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So that's just so interesting.
You know, okay, so it's funny because, like, I think I'm as we're talking, it's kind of triggering a lot of, like, memories that I'm, like, good memories at least. Kind of. I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Well,
But
can I ask how you feel about people asking if you're gay?
I actually I don't find any sort of offense towards it. I think that it is flattering, to be honest, and complimentary that I get to be able to hopefully pull from both directions, even though I know my
pull game strong.
You know
Another
what I mean?
Jim Dusha. Okay, that was
I'm gonna just have a sticker that says
I can pull from either side.
No, I mean, but, like, granted, it's mostly the guy sides that is have vocally.
Well, I will add something about that though. As a woman, most of the men have approached me, like, unless I've made it clear to them that I'm like, hey, I want to date you.
Right.
Which I typically do. I've realized as dating women, I'm like, I could do this to men too.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But
to be honest, and kind of just quick tangent,
Yeah.
I feel like for at least on my end of my side of as a guy, I feel like most guys would probably like that in most women to
just be out front and be like, hey.
too, right? Yeah, like, because there has been times where a few girls have mentioned that they did have feelings, and I found it very flattering, right? But I don't know, to each their own. We're all our individual selves, but go on.
That's true.
Yeah.
To me, I'd be more attracted to men who
Right.
who accept that because you know, this is the 21st century.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
with that said, I feel like it's not a matter. I mean, you probably are basing it off statistics of like this is what it is in the past, but I think we're missing where like women probably find you attractive and haven't approached you.
Right.
But he's been approached at the gym, y'all. Just letting you know. He was just telling me this story about him being approached. I was just like, is he missing the point? He was telling me a story. Gym woman lady, if you're watching this. He's blushing.
To be honest, I always never, and this can go into that whole identity thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I honestly never, because of in the past where like, I always just thought that I had like this more higher pitch, almost like feminine voice, at least to what I was telling myself growing up.
Listeners, you tell me. I don't see it, but
Really?
the higher
'Cause then,
pitched, maybe a brighter tone.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Brighter tone
Yeah.
would be a better output, I guess. Output, get it? Because sound and audio and out.
Yeah,
never
let's
mind.
keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going, Ray. You were going strong. You know, let's keep going.
And well, because in like here, I'm always thinking like growing up, like my cousins, my older cousins, all guys, right? Like have a much more deeper voice. My dad has a deeper voice, right? When he raises his.
As you're talking in a deep voice.
Right.
I hope you.
No, but this is like how I would think
No.
a deep voice is, right?
Yeah.
And then like growing up in like the media and everything, you think that there's a lot of
Manliness and
manly voices,
yeah,
right?
masculinity.
And so I always never thought that I was a part of that group, right?
Yeah.
And I was always thinking like, what is
wrong with
me?
you? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because I knew what I liked,
Yeah.
right? In terms
Yeah.
of like a partnership and everything. And who I'm attracted to.
And you're
but-
comfortable in it.
And I'm comfortable in it,
Now,
right? But it took so long. Like I didn't even want to hear my voice when I first started
Puberty.
recording, right?
My eyebrow raised. Puberty?
This is where we can't finish each other's sentences.
I finished my coffee though. That's for sure.
There was nothing in it.
It's empty.
And I think it wasn't until college where I started realizing there was a lot of guys that I look up to, right, that have a much more brighter pitched tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where I was realizing, okay, I am who I am, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's funny because I think when you asked me the question on like why people started assuming, I think one, I don't play sports. I dance.
That's a sport.
It is a sport. I need to stop doing that. I need to stop doing it because I fucking love dance.
Yeah.
I fucking love like the athleticism of dance, and I
Yeah.
appreciate the athleticism and admire the athleticism of dancers.
So
and
you
the
are the
women.
problem.
I am the problem. I'm trying to fix myself, y'all. It's accountability. It's going
Yeah.
back to like our
Yeah.
last podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
I have to be accountable. And it goes again back to like me thinking these activities as well, because back then when I was
Is
growing up
attached to it, yeah.
was attached to these
Roles.
roles, these identities, these stereotypical like what was back then,
Very
right?
heteronormative.
Right. And
stuff.
so that's where I feel like a lot of things were confusing me, to where I'm at now, right? But I remember I got my ears pierced, and I had this auntie, not a blood auntie, but like, you know how like in the Filipino
Auntie.
culture, right? There's the
Tita
family friends,
Manang.
right? Yeah. And there's this auntie who, because I was wearing earrings, right, and going back to that hetero norm concept, like I think that's where it started to stem, where my fashion and what I like started to dictate what other people perceive of me, right? Because for the most part, I think that because of I'm not dressing up in like fucking basketball shorts or like
Because you're actually taking care of how you look like.
For the longest time.
I'm not saying that people who wear basketball shorts aren't.
Right.
But more so you carefully curate what it is to look like Raymond.
Right. And I think that you know, for the longest time I would always think that I was there was a word that back then when you take care of yourself and
Self-care?
No.
Self-care?
When
you take care of yourself.
When it comes to me, I'll say it. It starts with an M, I think.
Okay. Well, can you talk a little bit more about taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to add a little bit about your identity and heteronormative, because you said that growing up you never really fit into this like manly men need to play sports, right? I felt the same way. Like, I agree. Like, growing up, I told you I didn't like wearing dresses. I was always outside. I'm not one to stay inside. And I still am the type of person that, you know, I wear makeup, but my style of makeup isn't what a lot of women my age
unquote,
even, right? Like,
Yeah.
assume that,
Right.
or like people in the world, society assume. But that doesn't make me any less of a woman.
Yeah,
That doesn't
yeah.
make, like, just because I'm wearing this and I'm not wearing like a crop top with short shorts on, which I can and I sometimes do, or like just because I have straight hair right now, like, and I don't curl it all the time, which I do still, right? Like, those things don't make me any less of a woman. But people
will still try to put you in
into
like
this,
a box, because that's what they're probably perceiving based off of societal norms, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Whatever this construct is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. But the people close to me, and I obviously surround myself with people who are open-minded and people who understand that, but I know, like, we're lucky to be living in California, we're lucky to be living in the Bay Area, who are a lot of people, for the most part, understand this concept. But there are other countries, and even in the Philippines, right? Like, my family even here, like, still has a hard time
trying to get a grasp.
Like, I told them recently, like, that, like, I'm no longer dating a woman.
Right.
And they were like, okay, good. Like, you should probably start dating a man. I was like, whoa.
You know, and I want to kind of...
This happened, like, a month ago.
I want to kind of get into that a little bit, too, because if you think about it, a lot of, like, especially Southeast Asian countries, like, have a lot of strong, like, identity, like, from because I have a lot of, like, you know, gay cousins, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, the celebrities who are openly whatever they identify as, right? There's a lot of
Openly whatever they identify as.
I don't know.
No.
Because there's so many, right?
Of course,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And even in the trans community too, there's a lot of, like, the models, right, out there in Thailand, Philippines, et cetera, right?
Absolutely.
And yet, because of, and maybe this is, and I'm kind of thinking out the brain right now, but it's the colonization of Christianity and Catholicism, right?
Yeah.
That has
They're taught a certain way.
Right.
And this is what they know.
Right.
So they try to puzzle piece things together, and it's like, hey, this is what I know. This is who you are. If I can figure out this one piece, I then know everything else that's going to happen in the future about you.
Right.
And it's that, like, comfortability in knowing, and the fact that they don't know what's going to happen or who we are, it scares them.
It scares them.
And they're uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's to your point, that, and there's also this processing piece of it that they were never taught growing up.
Right. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick little pause so that I can reset the cameras.
That was a very nice spike
There
that
you
I
go.
noticed on
the
the
audio
recorder.
file? Yeah.
Yeah. Way to go, Ray, director.
Little tidbit. If you ever want to start a podcast and you have different audio files, You know, just like how in movies they use the little clappers.
That's what it's for.
It's to create a spike in the audio so that you can sync it up all easy as opposed to trying to. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. I always wonder
what that was.
Yeah, because I always see the timestamp, and like obviously they
And
write
that
like the
helps,
season
too.
and the episode,
Right.
and then they see the cut,
Right.
and they have it on their little video, like the cut, and I was like, is this for visual purposes?
No, yeah, I mean, it does help because they have the timestamps in the little cut thing. They have the title. They have what cut it is.
Yeah.
So that everything is all easy to find, right? And then the sound, again, makes it easy to find when you see a spike in all 3 audio points, my mic or your mic, the mic on the camera. And it just makes life easier.
Quiet on the set, people.
Yeah, quiet on the set. Anyway, you're tuning back to Array of Thoughts. We were just talking about identity
Families
and even just our culture when we're thinking about.
I also want to add, I'm curious if you're willing to share, obviously, like, keep the personal details out of it, but if you're willing to share, you're coming out with the same person that I'm thinking about, and me coming out with the same person I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, would you like to share yours first? And this person, you're probably listening to this. Just know that I love you.
Yeah. No,
and like, this is a great like
I
laughing experience.
Yeah. Well, this happened 10 years ago. We're just gonna.
Oh yeah. This happened 10 years ago.
Because we've known each other for 10 years.
For 10 years. Look at that splinter. Okay. Yeah. So do you want me to go first? I mean, mine was fairly simple.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
yours was like.
Mine was interesting.
Oh yeah. So, me and this person.
Yeah.
We'll call him
Trent.
We'll call him Trent. So Trent.
Sorry for any Trents out there.
Love you, Trent. Trent has a fiance. They're married now, but Trent and their fiance. I just recently met Trent, and Trent was telling me about their fiance and getting to know me personally. And I was dating a woman at the time.
Yeah.
10 years ago when I was 16. And
you don't need to know.
And Trent obviously like didn't know this yet. So like Trent was just telling me about
brand new to the group.
Yeah, Trent was just telling me about his wife and his fiance, and was like, you know, this is what like my wife loves to go outside. I love to watch TV. And I was like, oh, that's different, because I want to be outside. And this person that I'm dating wants to watch TV, and like the only reason I watch TV is because of the person that I'm dating telling me. And then Trent goes like, the only reason my wife watches TV is because I tell her what to watch. And I was like, or like because we can bond.
There's parallels.
There's parallels to it, and then there's parallels to their culture as well, like the people that we're dating. And we were just talking about it, and we were syncing up so much. It's like, wow. So I'm like the young version of Trent. Trent, you're not that old, but hey. And then a few weeks go by, and then a month later we're still talking. Trent still doesn't know, because I keep the pronouns and stuff like that out of it. Like I make it very like
ambiguous.
The person I'm dating, and they, or you know what I mean. And then all of a sudden I showed Trent pictures. I showed Trent pictures, and he was shocked. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." It was like, why? And so he was kind of just like, he was surprised, and he asked me why I didn't tell him, and I was like, well, there wasn't really a need to. Well, because Trent started to assume that it was a he. So at some point, I just didn't stop him, because we were at work, and we were like, I was just like, I mean, like it's a small talk type of conversation. We're not getting to know each other that well. And he just assumed it was a he. He was like, oh, does he do this? And I've never once stopped him. And I'm still thinking about it. I was like, is that a thing with me? Like, I don't think I needed to stop him and tell him, like, you know what, I'm actually dating a woman. Yeah. Like, at a certain point, I think the conversation aspect of it was just me trying to, like, that's just wild, you know? And we were still multitasking as he's telling me this. He was like, oh, does the guy you're dating, like, does he? Right. And again, like, each time he would mention like the pronouns, I was just like, should I? Well, the person I was dating at the time go by like he, she, they, so it regardless of the pronouns. Yeah. they were still right.
Yeah, yeah.
But they just assumed it was a guy.
Yeah.
So then it wasn't until I showed the pictures that they found out it was a woman, and this was months after we started talking.
Right.
Like Trent and I started sharing information. So he was just shocked.
Yeah.
Like he was surprised. He was like, "Oh, how long have you been pansexual?" It was, I was telling him, and then I told him all the things. So that was just a really fun time. And this is the same person that had assumed. So nothing wrong with this guy.
Yeah,
like nothing wrong with Trent.
I love Trent.
him. I love him.
Yeah.
He's a great personality. I just love how this is such a learning opportunity.
And it's again, it goes back to just like the maybe this is where we kind of like grew up knowing and not knowing, right?
Yeah.
But for my experience,
cut to
me.
What was this, like a month and a half after Trent?
After Trent was talking to you, right? And we just found out about this
not too long ago,
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how sometimes we have similar experiences in a sense.
In an opposite type.
In an opposite type of way, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. I remember, I don't remember the whole context of like what we were talking about prior to it, aside from like, so me and Trent always like to banter a lot. And we get our own little like joking bits, right? And we'll kind of riff off each other, right? And then he was eventually, and this was with a group of other people around us as well.
Who know that Raymond
I am
is
very
straight.
much straight.
Yeah. So let's see here. You have three other people who have known you for years.
Yeah.
Who know that you're straight, and then come Trent.
Yeah. And
starts bantering with you in a great way.
Yeah, in a great way. Like I love joking with him. He has great insights, right? I mean, he eventually mentioned that he has a friend. He also has a friend that kind of reminds him of me, right? And he was just mentioning how like it would be pretty cool, pretty awesome if I got to know him, right? Know him in quotes.
Air quotes.
Air quotes. And in me thinking, I'm very oblivious. Like, there's a lot of things that kind of go over my head.
Yeah. Yes. I can attest to that. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
We don't need this unnecessary caption.
Almost definitely yes, oblivious.
And I kind of keep going with the bit because I think we're all still jokingly, right?
And I'm so excited. Like, I just want to recreate that. Yeah. Like, hey, I have a friend. Yeah. Like, I think you would really get along with him.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, no, I think you'll really get along with my friend. Like, he reminds me so much of you. You two would get along so well. And
then at this point, third, fourth time saying the same thing, but the tone starts to get like, more emphasis on getting to know so well, right? I start looking at my friend, one of my closer friends out of the group, right? And she was like, "Oh, I'm in a relationship," and then me and her kind of riff off each other, right? Like, continuing on the bit that I think that we were doing, right?
Yeah.
And so we were saying that we were together.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "No, really, like, I think y'all would be together, blah, blah." Because he knew that we're not, me and the friend weren't together, right?
Our other friend was already in a relationship.
Yeah. And so...
but I guess that was your unconscious way of, like, telling him you're straight.
Right.
Because she's a woman.
Yeah.
So she's like, but we're in a relationship.
Yeah. And so
funny.
I had to kind of look at him, because at this point, I realized... That he's not joking, and he's literally just.
Let me give you his number here.
He's about to just co-sign me with him. You know what I mean? And so I look at him like, "Wait, Trent, you know that I'm not gay, right?" And that is where the kind of ball shattered. And I love him. Like,
was Trent standing up as you said this?
He's
Trent's the guy that like stands up.
Yeah.
Like he's just standing up in general. All my conversations with Trent, he's like always standing up. But that's just so funny.
Yeah, and so he felt so bad. He kept apologizing the whole day, and I kind of told him like, "Trent, be thankful that I love you a lot."
Yeah.
Because like, this could have been so bad.
So bad.
But you know, at the end of the day, again, like that's where we go back to just like
Understanding each other.
But then also it's this idea, like when, especially if we get new groups of people, right, and they will already have a preconceived judgment over you.
I mean, we judge people in the first 3 seconds we see them.
100%.
Yeah.
My friend would always tell me, like, good or bad, you're always judging someone. It's like you pick up a book, right? And you're going to start judging the cover, right?
Yeah.
Without knowing the context behind the story.
100%.
Right? So,
100%.
Was that a bar?
That was a bar.
That was a bar.
We're making soap.
We're
Bars of soup.
Okay.
It's empty.
But
so,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Trent's story. We
that's
love
our,
Trent.
Yeah, we love Trent.
Identity. We're going to talk a little bit more about identity soon, but we
Yeah.
just wanted to share that story.
Yeah,
that was so
yeah.
funny.
It was interesting, and again, like this is not the first time too. Like,
Yeah.
That kind of going back to this assumption, at least with my own identity of having to always come out
As straight.
As straight.
You always having to come out as straight. Me always having to come out as pansexual.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize, I was hanging out with one of my guy friends like a year ago, and we were driving to LA. And I was telling him about like, yeah, this woman, like this person that I was dating. And then, sorry, no, this isn't a year ago. This was like a couple years ago.
Okay.
I was just like this person was like, no,
It's okay. You don't have to
completely
explain
different
stuff.
person.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I was, and then I told him, and he was like, you know, I'm gonna be honest, like when I first met, because I told him, I was just like, yeah, I'm not I'm not the type of person that puts on a lot of makeup. I was like, he goes, are you kidding me? Like, I thought you were straight until you told me you were dating a woman. I didn't realize that you were gay or queer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Oh, this is a good question. Did you think I was queer when you first met me?
When I first met you, no. Yeah.
This man thought I was straight.
But then here's the thing, like I don't assume.
When
a
did
lot
you
of
know? When did you find out?
Well, pause real quick, because I think this is also when I started getting to know you.
Yeah.
You were.
So when?
You were dating a guy.
Oh, okay. That doesn't make it. Sorry.
You gotta just watch the video. You gotta see my head just turned to the camera like it's the
Jaw drop.
like it's the office.
Okay, Jim. Douche. Jim
Well,
douche.
Because
Okay. That's a good one.
No, I mean, I always, again, I think it's based off of my own upbringing that I always just assume everyone is hetero norm until.
Interesting.
And maybe again, like
We'll talk more about that in
right.
private. I'm gonna let him know, guys.
yeah.
Ladies person. That's all. Am I also the problem?
Because then it's like, because in my head, I'm not even thinking of attraction or anything, or who a person is attracted towards. But I did think that at the end of the day, I just saw you as, you know, an independent woman. And,
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what I
I
mean?
love that.
Yeah. And
yes.
that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's so interesting. I'm like curious, when was this? Because if I think it's the guy that I was dating.
right.
Was it that guy, or was it the guy before that guy?
Wait, there was another.
It was okay. Anyways, it's fine. We're good. Now I
It's
know.
the guy that we all.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah. So, I mean-
Yeah, that was a very public, like,
Right.
thing.
And granted, this is me. Like, I'm just starting to get to know people.
Yeah.
In this environment.
And at that
right?
time, yeah.
At that time, and so like I didn't know who was. I didn't even know people could date with people
Inside work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so.
And I will say that was, I think, probably the first and last time I'll ever do that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's,
Yeah. It's a little messy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of messy.
But
I'm
yeah.
just kidding. This world is a mess.
I was gonna ask you the same thing, but then I realized you have a huge. A great perception of people.
Yeah, my radar, my gaydar. As you know, my younger brother is gay, so I grew up with him. Like, and I'm queer.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Like, I always thought Like, I mean, at a certain point. So interestingly enough, after dating the guy that you thought you saw me dating with, I became a lesbian. Well, like oh man, so I was bisexual at the time, and then I reconsidered, identified as a lesbian, and then I started having crushes with men, and then I became pansexual. Again. But it's a whole, I think it's for me, it's always changing, but I do know that I have really strong feelings toward women.
Right.
Strong feelings? What am I, child? Anyway, so that's, well, are we keep going?
We can
That's
keep going.
the identity aspect of things?
Yeah.
There's really nothing more that I can say in this episode right now.
Yeah,
currently.
I mean, I think
currently.
At the end of the day,
but...
we both know who we are.
Oh yes, 100%. The independence piece.
The independence,
and everyone's so different. The uniqueness.
Right. And we know I'm still learning my own little style, but it usually ends up being perceived in a different way.
So I guess this is.
And we didn't even
this is our invitation. Well, yeah. So there's also the style aspect for identity.
Yeah.
Would you like to create a new episode of that, or do you want to just keep it in this one?
We can keep it in this one.
Okay,
for a
then
little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I talked about it. Me being comfortable in my style of clothing. I for a while, I was just in high school. I wore basketball shorts to school. I don't know if you know this. I wore basketball shoes.
Well, I knew you played basketball.
Well,
as
yeah,
well, so
that's
I mean, like,
whatever then.
Come on, Jervie.
I didn't start wearing crop tops until I was a little. I mean, let's see here. When I was in sophomore, I started wearing makeup, and my mom was just so happy.
Right.
She was like, "I have a girl." My girl wants makeup. Let me buy you makeup. I love her. Rest in peace. Love you, Mom. But she was so excited that I was wearing makeup that she was like, "What do you need? Let's go makeup shopping." And she'll buy it for me. But like I wasn't interested. And it's like, "Oh, we're at the makeup section again." Like not like that, but still, it's like, wow, like the joys that a mother has. Love my mom for makeup. I honestly, if she were alive today, there would definitely be some questionable things that she still would subscribe to, heteronormativity type style. Because I remember growing up and having to wash dishes and stuff like that. But this is about style and identity. So I have always been in a comfortable, sporty, athletic, anything that allows me to move, anything that will allow me to sweat and be out in nature, and then obviously clean myself right after. But yeah, here I am wearing my Hawka shoes with my leggings, and I can fully go out on a run, as mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, at least nowadays, especially with like the social media and everything, and just like the direction of where fashion is going, I feel like there's a lot more. At least for me, I think there's a lot more acceptance to whatever you identify as, you can wear whatever you want to wear.
Yeah.
Right?
But that wasn't the case before.
Not the case before. Because back in the day, again, like kind of going back to my earrings and like that auntie who thought I was gay because I was just wearing earrings, right? Even like growing up in...
Did they make you feel bad about that?
No.
Oh.
No. Oh, this auntie was more of a friend auntie.
Yeah.
Like my friend's mom, right? But there was one time another auntie who was a little bit closer in blood, not my blood, but my cousin's blood.
Somebody else's blood.
Someone else's blood. And
something within the iron.
She was preaching how and this is when I was in high school, and this is before I knew anything about like inequality and prejudiceness, right? Just spewing things about what God and Jesus Christ would be thinking.
So that's why you had mentioned Christianity and Catholicism earlier.
Because at that time too, I had a few gay friends in high school, and when she was spewing all those nonsense, me being almost like 15, getting really mad at the dinner table, and I think I questioned, like, I don't remember exactly, this was a long time ago, but me questioning that, and then kind of staying silent because I couldn't. You can't keep beating a dead bush, you know. And I just kept thinking about my friends, you know, and how much I love them as my friends, right? And for someone to be attacking that community
who hasn't done anything,
right? You're attacking
harm.
My friend who you don't even know, right? And that's where I started realizing that there is this like overall issue, right? And me learning how to start accepting even more people as I started growing into college and here now, right? Because we're all diverse. We all, you know. Anyway, kind of going back to like the fashion side too, right? Like I always, there was a time where I even wanted to like, I was so interested in like that James Bond look and everything, you know, where like suits.
Okay.
And everything, right?
Yeah.
The suits. I was watching another show called White Collar, where it's just men in suits, right? And I wanted, which is funny because the main actor, he's gay.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a very good-looking man. But it wasn't until I started kind of being surrounded by like my ate and her husband, being in the fashion industry, right? And how like they can wear like explosive colors, but they can also wear neutral colors, and it'll make them look, they still look good, right?
Yeah.
And then coming into our workplace and me wearing explosive colors here and there, or going super black, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes, going back to it, like most people who are associated in that hetero norm
or having that,
able to express themselves with different colors or different clothes, right? And then seeing me kind of wearing whatever the fuck I want, and then associating that.
Yeah, you had a kimono at one point.
Yeah,
well, like especially
I have
at the beginning.
4 kimonos in my all different, you know.
Yeah, and you would wear that to work.
A lot of the times too, it's I gain a lot of inspiration from like Korean fashion, right?
Yeah.
And they're very flamboyant, very explosive, very bright colors, right? And I like that, right? Like I love seeing anyone wanting to express themselves by the way they dress, right? And I think most people can't get out of that comfort zone of their own color schemes, that they start associating it to this.
That's also a very big and deep problem in society with like quick fashion, right? Where they just subscribe to like, you know, this is cheap. This is something that's accessible to me right now. Like, let me just buy it. And then you just stack it up. And you never really get to find the time to, like, connect the dots and find what the right personalized fashion is for you. Yeah. Because, hey, this is what this magazine tells you that a man should look like. Right. Put on a white t-shirt, some black pants, and a belt. Like,
get a gray suit, some slacks, you're ready to go to an interview.
Apparently. But no, I can think of a lot of men in my life right now that are very fashionable and are able to express themselves in a way, you know, like you yourself, and there's other people I know and are probably listening to this that have found that part. Yeah. But that's because we have the resources. And we're fortunate enough to have those resources to be able to do that. So it's a bigger problem.
Yeah. And we won't be able, we're just 2 expert single people trying to figure out.
With that said, and us talking about identities, I do want to take this time to invite everybody to come along this journey so that here, as we explore our brains and our thoughts.
We have an array of thoughts.
We're an array of thoughts. We can think about what we are learning through dating while single. Like, here we talk about who we are as people. And honestly, the whole purpose and intention behind us having this podcast is so that, hey, look, like, you always hear people who are already in a relationship tell you how it looks like learning while you're dating, but no one ever really documents it. So here we are documenting our journey as 2 young adults who are experts at being single. dating ourselves and dating other people.
And just experiencing the world.
Hurrah.
You know? So, with that being said, I would love to invite y'all to the next podcast. We might be in the same scenery, so who cares? I don't care. It's our podcast.
Beautiful,
You know?
beautiful weather.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys loved this episode. This was a great episode.
This was a very beautiful
Yeah,
episode. I love this episode.
This was a great
I
conversation.
do want to add one more thing. If you're watching the video, look, no more coffee. Oh,
No more
Anyways, we finished our coffee in this
Yeah.
episode.
So yeah, come back next time. Next time we're talking about, I don't know what we're talking about yet. So come back at episode 4 and we'll see y'all later. And again, you guys deserve to shine. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.